Right opposite the Colosseum is the Temple of Roman Venus. Behind it is the Forum Romana. And strangely enough, all of this is built of bricks. Here we are at the Palatine Stadium, which, like all Roman buildings, is built mainly of bricks. We see that bricks, as we have already said in previous videos, were used for the exterior cladding. Inside, it's Roman concrete, and you can see that the Romans faced this brickwork with marble, of course, for beauty. They didn't know how to make columns out of marble, so they did what they could. There are still a few columns laying around. Apparently they were brought from the Colosseum. But the Romans mostly built bricks buildings, of course. Bricks buildings are everywhere here. If you take public transport, you see bricks and marble fragments like this everywhere. These are gorgeous elements. Obviously, all of this was also brought from the Colosseum. This element is gorgeously decorated beam above the columns. And of course, the columns are broken and cracked capitals. The Romans tried to use all of this in their brick buildings. They decorated the interior with them, but all of this was survived to this day only in this ruined state. And this was dug up later, and not knowing what to do with it, they apparently just piled it up here. And here is a gorgeous granite column, amazingly great work. Another granite element and marble. In the distance we can see the columns, which are still standing. The Romans often made them simply freestanding in their brick palaces, or lined them up in rows as colonnades, but they did not bear any load, no covering. These are the floors of the Forum Romana. It's mostly bricks here. Again, here and there, these columns stand on a travertine base. These are the ruins of ancient temples. Some temples are more preserved, and their post-flood inhabitants of Rome later rebuilt them into churches. The Romans built many luxurious buildings here, but all they built were brick buildings. By the way, all this was under a huge backfill of about 3-4 meters for a long time. And in order to open up for us all these ruins that were buried by the flood, it was necessary to demolish many buildings here and carry out very large-scale work. And who knows how many more of these buildings are here under the city, since modern Rome is built on the post-flood ruins of ancient Rome. And this is the temple of Antonia Faustinus. By the way, its frame with columns is very preserved. But we will look at that later in another video. There's a triumphal arch there. It's travertine, but it's not of very good quality. Again, like in the Colosseum, The columns are simply stacked along these brick walls. Everything is broken off, destroyed apparently by this flood, but at least here it's clear that the Romans tried to somehow build structures, tried to make their structures similar to the structures of the gods, so that their greatness would be no less in the eyes of ordinary people. Basilica di Massenzio. This one is also made of bricks, but with elements of travertine capitals. Apparently, there were some pseudo-columns there. Again, apparently, these capitals were taken from the Colosseum. And here are some more ancient buildings that the Romans tried to use. They built around it out of bricks on these foundations. And again, the level of these bridges and roads is the level of the backfill under which all this was for a very, very long time. The ruins are certainly sad, and there is practically nothing to see here. And again, brick buildings. And there is an ancient building into which chic decorative elements from the Colosseum were inscribed. Just if you walk along the streets of Rome, you can find a lot of such elements. As I already said, any self-respecting person tried to steal a piece of the Colosseum and build it into his home. And what about the Roman city walls? They were made of whatever was available. Bricks, stones of different sizes, basically everything that was available was built in with mortar. This is certainly not the Colosseum. Well, that's all. And in the next video we will look at Hadrian's Mausoleum, another interesting building that can be seen over there in a distance. And thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel to see new discoveries.